Well, hello there. Greetings on this Easter season time, Tuesday, April 21. Christ is risen, he's risen indeed. I'm still home here a good bit of the time, and we have good coffee here where I live. We grind fresh beans whenever we need to make a cup or a pot of coffee, so there's never any reason to really have to go out because the coffee's better here anyway. This whole stay at home program is unprecedented for me in my lifetime and ministry. Sunday worship services have been canceled before, of course, due to the occasional time of snow or maybe ice. And when we were in Iowa, there were some times when tornado situations required churches being closed. But those were always sort of last minute decisions or situations. But our time now is completely different, and we still don't know when we might be able to meet again. Unprecedented, I say, but only in my experience, not in history. Schools, public places and events, stores, churches have all been closed before in Michigan by the governor, specifically during an epidemic, the flu epidemic of about 100 years ago. And so I did a wee bit of research. You can actually research from the University of Michigan Library while sitting right next to your own fish tank. You can, and so I did. And so for the influenza epidemic in 1918, the governor of Michigan, then Albert Sleeper, ordered all theaters and movie houses and churches and lodges, pool and billiard halls closed. Additionally, all non-essential public meetings and gatherings were prohibited. And compliance to the order was rather high, but of course not everyone was happy about it, including, among others, some churches and some Christian Reformed churches who right away began asking for exemptions so that they could meet. The answer from the Grand Rapids health officer was this: when businessmen are closing up to their great financial detriment, those engaged in sports and in teaching should not ask for favors when lives are at stake. And then after being closed for 3 weeks and under growing public pressure to reopen, the order was lifted. And then, of course, there was an immediate resurgence of the infection, and so there was a second closing. Schools were closed and dance halls, dance halls were closed. Skating rinks, lodge halls, and all the more were shut down. But curiously enough, during that second closing, churches were allowed to remain open provided two things were met. One is that they were well ventilated, and two, that it was prohibited for anyone under 16 years old to enter. So, if you were less than 16, you couldn't go to church. The Grand Rapids Herald, which was the newspaper at the time, had an article in it titled "Sunday Closing Order Keenly Felt by Members of the Christian Reformed Church." And this quote: "Who have been trained from childhood to regard regular church attendance as natural in their lives as eating breakfast." That's how they understood the members of the Christian Reformed Church. And an editorial in the Banner, the denominational magazine, called them churchless Sundays and called its readers to, quote, "pray earnestly that the scourge may soon be removed so that churches could reopen." The editorial went on to say that it was time for people to repent and to turn to righteousness. And the editorial concluded by emphasizing that Christians have an obligation to respect government and the law. So, we've been here before, but it's been 100 years. So when will we reopen? Well, I can't say yet, other than that it won't be, at least until after the elected state officials say we can. But even then, the question will still be, should we reopen immediately? I'd anticipate that the size of gatherings, when they are permitted, will be limited. And surely there will be understandable reticence and due hesitancy among us for joining all together in one big room. And so how will we reopen? Well, there's still so much that is yet unknown that it's hard to say, of course, until we get there. I mean, maybe with good weather, we can just leave the doors open. But still, what will the greeters do? And do we hand out masks to those who don't have them? And how many people will even be allowed to be in the building? And how far apart will we have to sit? And can we even really sing if we're all wearing masks? Do we not pass the peace, or do we do it in some new way? And what about when we want to sing, "My friends, may you grow in grace"? Well, of course, it's all hard to know at this point. We'll have to work it out, but we'll let you know when the time comes. Meanwhile, let me close with Psalm 13. Psalm 13 opens with a few verses where the psalmist talks about his lament and all the trouble of his life that he's experiencing. But then he closes with these wonderful words. He says, "But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me." And some of you will remember that a hymn was sung in many a Christian Reformed church at the close of the evening worship service. The hymn was titled, "God be with you till we meet again." God be with you till we meet again. Indeed, God be with you till we meet again. And in the meantime, may the peace of Christ be within your walls and within your hearts. Enjoy the fish.